Hello, and welcome to another video. It's been a while because I'm lazy, but I just got out of school. The 12th was in fact our last day, and I figured before I try jumping into a bunch of art and stuff, very specific on me, I'd show you what I did in my Art 2 class. I took an Art 2 class in high school. I had a sketchbook and I have a bunch of final projects over off to the side I'll show afterwards. I didn't fill up the sketchbook completely because we just didn't. So I'll probably reuse this for my drawing and design class next year. So I'm trying to stay out of frame because I'm in fact not dressed. That's just poster design. But the first assignment we had was to write 10 important events that impacted your life, and then draw symbols of them. And this was for a little strip of paper we would make, and then she'd weave them into like this whole big thing. I wish I had a picture of it, but I don't. So I had a bunch of events, and you can kind of just guess what they are from the symbols. But yeah, that was our first little thing, wasn't a whole lot. And then we had warm-ups. And these warm-ups, now tilt this up so you can see it. These warm-ups were a spread, and she'd give us a prompt, and we'd have in-class 15-minute, we had 4 classes where we'd have 15 minutes at the beginning class to work on them, and then the 5th class, it would be due. So generally I'd take those 4 class times to sketch, and then sometimes I'd take it home and paint. For the first prompt, we had to draw at least 4 things from life. I drew a couple more, like my pencil pouch, my phone, my hand, a water bottle, a pen, some glaze, a stool, a pen, and a clock. And I did some journaling around it, and some words. And in the beginning, I tried to label what days I worked on and on. But this was the first one, and I think it looks kind of cool. This was planning for our folder. Fun fact, I'm not in the 4A class, I was actually in the 2A class. But I'm dumb. Rip me. So, we had to draw 2 designs, and I'll show you the final in a bit. This was just notes on artist statements. And the next warm-up was talking about the difference between art and design. And I sum it up as art is creative expression and design is more of advertisement. Because I take art as, well, it is expression. But design, when you focus on art, you're focusing more on expression and, you know, whatever message you want to convey. But when you're focusing on design, you're more focusing on selling or communicating something. Yeah. The next thing, we had to draw important things to us, and I didn't actually finish this when it was due. You could tell in the background I had like sunlight and education and family and a bunch of stuff in the background, but I never got to finishing it because, yay, I'm bad at stuff. So for the end of the year, we had a chance to sort of read, you know, for end of year portfolio review, we were encouraged to finish up any like spreads. So in my painting, I slapped on some paper, some paint, and I basically went on more on how, you know, the spread failed and looked bad. But that's not what is important. Like, life is important. There's more to life than what just looks good. Because I was just sick and tired at that point. Next was some doodle practices for another project. This is the pen practice. We had these little calligraphy pens we were going to do our watercolor project with, our ink project with, and most of us hadn't used them before, so this was just our practice and messing with it, and I'm bad at it. Our next warm-up was, the prompt word was observation. It was observation, so I, in my infinite glory of not wanting to do a whole lot at the time, drew a bunch of eyes and just took a black marker and a blue pen over it. And she liked it. She thought it was cool, because I have journaling about and you know, it's chaotic. This is the sort of final sketch. That is terrible lighting. I will set that down. The final sketch for the project, and then the next thing is just 2-point perspective notes, and I am trying to fit this in frame, but I did not realize how shitty the lighting would be. Oof. Whatever. 2-point perspective notes, you know, just how to do it. Next was perspective. That was our next warm-up. And again, I was trying to avoid drawing perspective because I hate it. So I was taking it more abstractly, which we're allowed to do. I mean, like, how everybody can have different perspectives on things. So this is a lot of some of the early stuff I was kind of in a rut on what to do because I just was, and this year was weird for me, like, in every way. The next warm-up we had a prompt was, how do you study for testing quiz? And I looked back on my my 2019 art goals, and I wanted to draw more comics and stuff. So I did, and if you followed my Tumblr, you probably saw this way back when, October, I want to say. And because, you know, I was in that mood, in that rut, but also, you know, still need to get stuff done, this is what kind of pulled me out of it for a teeny bit. And it was just this comment about how I never really learned how to study. I was always the smart kid on a pedestal, and thus I was kind of ignored, and, you know, everything relied on my grades. So I go more in detail on it, and if you search around on my blog, you can find it. But yeah, it was an interesting project. I know she really enjoyed it, and I think it did turn out okay. Next was two prompts. Our prompt was fantasy, and we had to include a collage element. So I have a bunch of scrap paper on the edges, and I have paper around. Ew, my drawing of me. That was bad. That looks disgusting. What is this pointed chin and my ear all the way up? I was bad. That's gross. That is absolutely gross. But I still do a lot of journaling, and this is one when I showed my bus driver, she actually complimented me and said, I like the way you think. And that's still, like, the best compliment I've ever received. Yeah, reality influences fantasy, fantasy influences art, you know, art imitates life, life imitates art. I was trying to do this, I was trying to prove a point, like, these things don't exist in a vacuum, they're all sort of influencing each other. But this was a fun project. Next was perspective practice, and then I'm planning my eco-city. We had to do a fantasy city project, so a city that couldn't be real, and we had to do a 2-point perspective, and it had to have all these crazy requirements. So, and like my thumbnails, these look really cool, because I imagine plants are on everything, and I wanted a futuristic city where everything was taken over by plants, and it looked really cool. But I was doing a huge struggle with it. Like, here's the final sketch in my sketchbook. And the problem with this is I didn't push the plants enough, and you'll see it in the final one. Like, you couldn't tell it was an eco-city. You could just tell it was in fact, you know, a city. So rip that. Another warm-up prompt was 2-point perspective in a room. So I drew the room, I had the notes on the side, and I really had no idea what to do with it. So again, after it was due, I colored it in and decided to make it spooky because I think this was around that fall time and I was bored. Next one's a depressing comic I've also shown on my blog. This is How Do You Feel Joy? Or How Do You Express Joy? And me in the midst of depression didn't feel a whole bunch of joy, so I just kind of wrote about that. Like, I feel joy, but it's just low. It just doesn't last long. Like, this part right here where I feel something and then just it's nothing. That was a lot of depression for me. It was just I feel happy for a moment and then it just goes away. Like, I don't feel motivated. I just feel panic or nothing in general. So, and it does take a toll on me. So that was kind of my thing, but I do end it on a happier note that, like, I am getting better you know, I am going to therapy. I am getting support. But it was just more of an interesting observation on me. I remember doing the watercolor like late at night before it was like I had to turn it in because I was just so it's not the neatest. It didn't turn out too bad. Next was another. This is still unfinished. We had to talk about like what like your spirit animal would be or whatever animal would be. So I did some journaling about, you know, when I was little, I would choose a cat. And like when I was in middle school, I had an online friend who portrayed me as a swan with her friend, with some other of her friends. And then the last one, I was a bird. I had an old Tri-County counselor who said I was like a bird in a cage. But when the cage was open, I was really scared to fly out. And like a lot of our working was on trying to get me the confidence to go out of my cage. I never finished it. It's a cool concept, and I had a neat aesthetic going with like the grays and splatters everywhere. But it just didn't go anywhere. Next was she showed us a picture of some famous, semi-famous painting, or oil pastel like portrait, and had like this hill and a tree, and she said we had to do our own version of it, you know, applying everything and using oil pastels. And you can tell my oil pastels work decently in this sketchbook, but yeah, I didn't have any real ideas for it. I had a bunch of journaling right here, but didn't finish it. So before final portfolio, I took it home, and I hate to lose it. And the original journal was this long thing about Mother Nature and how, you know, we're killing our planet. But I summed it up with like, just this. Doesn't it look so pretty? It won't be around for long since we're poisoning Mother Nature, because it's just that's what we are doing. And you know, I had nothing else to say, and I needed something in the foreground. And bubbly trees and that. Oil pastel project was drawing this angry boy. He's a bird, and I love him. And I gotta constantly make sure I'm in frame, but I'm probably not. Another warm-up we had to take the animal we were doing for our animal project, so my bird, and just say, oh, give it a superpower. Again, didn't have any idea, so I'm like, what if the bird could communicate with a person? And then I never finished it. Yeah, this is the one I was. This was the fun problem. This was gonna be full color, but once I just added the crayon at school, like, I kind of liked it in black and white, and the pops are red and blue, although I should have, like, darkened the lines about it a bunch. But she had this prompt of, what if you suddenly shrunk? And so I did the math and proportion it out, and, like, I would, since I was 5'3" feet at the time, I would just be over 5 inches tall. Like, my phone is, like, a little bit, like, it's around that size. So I would fit into people's hand. So I just did a fun comic about just, like, my sister would bully me, my little brother would hurt me, my older brother and my mom would literally be giants, and I will only ever trust my girlfriend with me, ever. And that was at the time she had long hair, and she had just dyed it pink, and it was cute. I wish I cleaned this one up. I think this one does look really good. And then on the flip side, we had a what if you grew. I also have this little sticky note of designs at me, at my girlfriend. And this was based on a dream I had a long time ago where, like, this witch cursed me under the full moon for whatever reason, and I became this horrid monster. And you can tell I'm bad at trees still at this time. And, like, the inspiration for this monster came from when I was back really into, like, I had this dream, I want to say, in middle school, and I was back kind of more into Vocaloid. So if you've ever seen Bacterial Contamination, it's a Vocaloid song, but the monster in that sort of inspired the monster design for me. So again, another one I should have refined a bit more, because it's really, really cool in concept. Because just like, what a sick looking monster. Like, this looks cool. And then I also have designs. This is just a little doodle I did off. Not for it, but like this was just a very simplified monster of this, and then I tried to figure out what design I had for my girlfriend, but because I remember having an idea for it at some point, but it never really was any good. This was for a, not competition, but like contest, was for some shelter or whatever about making an adopted poster, and I just had no ideas for it. So I only ever got to the sketch. I didn't even try to do a final thing because it doesn't look good. I had no ideas. Again, back into a rut. Ooh, this one sticks. I sealed this one. So this is in our impressionistic painting unit. I am still slightly out of frame. Oh wow, this is already 15 minutes. And we had to draw, and she said in your sketchbook you had to do a childhood memory in that impressionistic style. And I'm like, I remember none of my childhood. And this is when I just cut my hair and dyed it purple. So I had no idea, so I was just like, okay, when I was little, I had really long hair, went down to my butt, look at my bad anatomy. You know, and I just kind of talk about how, like, it was a pain to care for and how a lot of people touched it a lot of the times when I didn't want to be touched. And I went on for years talking about how I didn't, my hair being touched. I went on for years how I wanted to cut it shorter and shorter until it was really short, and just no one listened. And, you know, they had the nerve to act surprised when I went and did it on my own. But yeah, I still think this turned out kind of cool. Next was another thing I finished after it was originally due for the final portfolio. We had to draw facial features and make something out of that. So back to my classic drawing the eyes, and then I did a mouth. This one I was just feeling edgy, but I like this golden, like, dark aesthetic. Like, there's the more than meets the eye. Watch out, I bite. Or watch out for my bite. Like, I do really like that aesthetic of having realistic drawings and then what's clearly drawn on top. So I just tried to mimic that. I think that turned out kind of cool. I really like this spread. Our self-portrait unit. This was when she was absent, sick or something, so drawing from a mirror. I'm clearly not that good at it. Then she took a picture of us. Now, she told us to bring a hat or something and wear some personality to the picture, because, in her words, you know, don't make it look like a mugshot. And so, I don't know what she said or what she did, but I started laughing in the middle of the line, and she took a picture of me laughing, and she printed it out, and that's what I had to do for my project. And this was the pencil version of it, and it's not the worst thing. I think I definitely do prefer it penciled than a charcoal later, but just, like, my ugly face. Well, and I'm wearing a beanie in that. Check my in frame again. Never. Let's just scoot back. Another one was growth, and you can see I just cut my hair, so now I'm trying to figure out how to draw myself with the short hair. Our prompt was growth, and I just kind of journaled about how growth is this constant issue you're always struggling with, and how somebody told me growth and recovery are in a spiral. They're not in, like, a straight path, so you're always going to go up and down, up and down. So, and then when I turned this in, it was all pencil, but I watercolored it afterwards, and I think it turned out pretty cool. I like what I said in this. Next thing was stress. Like, how do you handle stress? And you can tell I really don't. As you've watched my vlogs before, I really don't. So I just kind of journaled about that, and just, like, my anxiety compared with stress really does. It got me messed up. Because, like, there are times where the second I feel really, really stressed and anxious, like, I physically cannot eat. I eat and I feel nauseous. I can't sleep well. I isolate myself, which makes it worse. Like, stress is such an annoying thing to deal with. I don't know how I'm going to do college or art school. But yeah. Yeah, but being stressed, one of the big things was I couldn't do the work I needed to do, which makes me more stressed. And that's its own cycle of hell. And I mentioned how I don't have, like, a perfect solution, quote unquote, but, like, I'm baby stepping my way there. I try, in these later attempts, I do try to end on, like, a lighter note. This was summer plans. Again, another one I didn't finish, another one I don't plan on finishing. I talked about how didn't have many trips planned this year. We usually me or my sister go to Tennessee to visit and hang out with our grandparents. I talk about, you know, there's some birthdays that are fun. I told, you know, I'm telling her and I'm telling myself, this year's going to be different. I'm not going to sit around and be lazy. I'm gonna get my license, get a job, do a bunch of art videos. We'll see how well that goes. And then, add notes. This was a poster design. This was our final project, like the last week in a couple days of school. This was what we're doing. This was the thumbnails and idea and my thing. The idea was we had a one-man art show. So I had this really cool idea where it's a silhouette of me with all my art in it. And I reference art I did during the year, both in and out of school. And you'll see the final from that in a second. And then the final warm-up was do whatever you want. And then, of course, after being in, like, given prompts every week, I didn't know what to draw on my own. So I tried to do this concept I've seen before where it's like a person or an artist in a bottle. And I never finished it. Or disclaimer, artists might not always do art. And on command or good art. And please take care of artists responsibly. It was just a fun way to mess with, like, your perspective on both sides. And I'm worth $9.99. And that's it. That's like all my sketchbook stuff. But the real fun stuff is all my final projects. I'm gonna go roughly in order, but probably not. And I gotta zoom out just a teeny tiny bit so you can see all my big stuff. This is the first thing, the folder. You saw the designs earlier. And we had to make this folder all about like ourselves, you know. And since this is the beginning of the year and I still there's dust all over this, I was still really into witchcraft and all of that, and I still kind of am. So I did like one side dedicated to my more Luciferian side, and one side dedicated more to my Mother Nature side. And, you know, and I think it looks really cool. I like it. Yeah, these aren't in order. I will just take them out, and we will go based on what we see, and I will do the theme last. I'll just go from top to bottom. This, and note, like, these black papers weren't here. This is just what it was mounted on for a little art show in, you know, in the school. And whoever put this up, I don't know if it was my teacher or somebody else, duct taped it on one side, but stapled it on the other. So I had no real way of getting it off, so I just decided I'll cut it down. And then we didn't sign any of our works during the year, so when I took it home, I signed it with the year and like a Sharpie and just sealed it in. This was aforementioned self-portrait. We had to write like a bunch of our, you know, some personality traits behind it, and I remember having to call my girlfriend one night and be like, hey, I have 10 personality traits due tomorrow. I need you to help me come up with them so they're not all like entirely self-deprecative. And then I lost them on like the day we were actually writing them, so I had to make up new ones. But I still kept a pretty one. We had to have at least 10, so I have integrous, compassionate, quirky, fair, kind, loving, socially awkward, independent, intelligent, passionate, empathetic. You can still see the pencil mark behind me, but oh well. I'm Superman. I still messed up my glasses because charcoal's just difficult, man. I've never worked with charcoal before, but like, I don't think it's the worst it could have been. Yay. Next thing, the Angry Bird pastel. I forgot what kind of bird this is. Oh, Jesus, what is it? Okay, so the staple came off. I'll deal with that later. I forget what kind of bird this is. I just looked up colorful birds in Google, and this is what I came up with. And we had to draw in the background and all this. I called him the Angry Bird because, like, if you look at the picture, and I think it's somewhere in here, like, you could, it looks like he's just so grumpy and angry. This was an okay project. I liked kind of working on it, but then, like, the background became a nuisance. It's okay. And I tried to sign it with Sharpie, but it didn't work so well, but oh well. Next one. Here's the Eco City I talked about. Like, you can tell, like, this isn't, you can kind of tell it's not, like, anything close to our world because we don't have skyscrapers with plants dangling off them, though we do have skyscrapers now. And you can see, like, you know, there's all this cool stuff, but, I just really needed to add more plants to everything and just make it look different. I should have looked up eco scrapers and just like did something like that. If I were to redo this, I'd do it a lot better. But this was just a pain to do in whatever time span we had to do it in, because it was just, you didn't have a lot of time. You had to color everything. I tried to put a lot of effort into the lighting though. Like, so the lighting came from over here, and you could see it on the clouds and on the rail, like this little intersection thingy. And I had like the lights reflect their own light and shadows. I tried. It just needed a lot more. This was the poster I was talking about. I love this. Now, I forgot to bring my paint to school, so she just got the penciled in version of it. But I think it turned out really good with this very intricate foreground. Like, you can just see, and there's a bunch of art I reference, like my folder's up here. I have, I think, a bit of something in my sketchbook here. I had like my index cards of the city, of the like fantasy escapes in my face, post-its, like the post-it of the design here. Like, I think it's really cool to have this very intricate background and then place it on a very plain background with just a shadow and just put some shading over it, so like it's clearly a face, and then just have my information. Like, see the reveal, Sloan's one-man art show. I really like this. I think this turned out cool, and I love it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it though. I don't know what I'm gonna do with any of these. Name tag, beginning of the year. I had no idea who I was, again. Always get asked about myself, and I don't know. So we just had to make a name tag, and like, these are my hobbies, these are my favorite movies, these are my favorite bands, these are 4 like character traits about me, and you know, my name, and I put they them pronouns because I'm non-binary. So like, kind of boring. Not too bad though. I'll probably recycle up. Color pencil techniques. Yeah. Paint swatch. We only had, if you've ever been to public school, you know, you have red, yellow, blue, and white and black. And so this was the color swatch chart she made us do to figure out how to make, first of all, the secondary colors, and then how to go from complement to complement. She liked how I did mine. This was simple. This was cool. Whatever. Next was another time she was absent. Trying to figure out how I oriented these. We had to do 3 emotions. This was happiness, I think. Yeah, this was happiness. This was calm, and then this was anger. Or, yeah, this is angry. In oil pastels, and just do a bit of abstract while she was gone. And I love abstract art, so angry, I think I did my best. I think my best was angry, and I really did try to focus on those warm colors and the splash of blue and black. Just like, it's so concentrated and just difficult and just intense. That's how I feel when I'm angry, so I think this was fun. I did not ever seal it in though, so I might need to do that. Happy, I didn't know quite how to place happy or calm, but I liked how, you know, I just tried to do something sort of fun and playful, so very cool wishing lines, and then like, you know, these little petals, pink petals in the wind to be more playful and loving. And then calm, I really struggled, and it smeared and got ugly, but it's a weird emotion of not a whole lot, and I didn't know how to like do it. Like, I didn't know how to visualize it. Like, I visualized angry so well, and then it just went downhill. But I think it's cool. With our paintings, we had to like write a letter of somebody who was accepted into a show and rejected into a show, and this is an area on my old elementary school bus stop, and this is what I did for my impressionistic painting. And, you know, we had to have our reference, and then we do it in a bunch of like colors because, yay, impressionism. So that's that. You'll see the painting in a bit. Ink one. God, this is terrible. Oh, I got paint on it. like, just a pain. This is my ring, like in the front, like, try stippling that was a pain in my ass. And of course I didn't bring in all my stuff, so I had a hodgepodge thing. It turned out okay, like, and I was just bad at the ink wash because I had a hair, like, we didn't have a hair dryer in the classroom at the time, so I just kind of had to wait and didn't want to wait. So, ugh, that turned out like crap. That's one probably for the recycling bin. Some rubric, some, oh yeah, color or elements of parts and concept of designs or whatever, or principles of design packet. Primary colors, use rhythm, warmer, cool, harmony, complementary, variety and texture, monochromatic, balance with double complement, and analogous balance using color, like, you know, because nobody would study it. There's the angry boy. He's great. There's a thing. This is the ink wash practice, which you can tell I struggled immensely with. And then this was the practicing using oil pastels on, you know, different techniques and whatever. And the last thing was this painting. It is the thing I am most proud of, because it doesn't look like garbage. And I signed it, and, like, I really like this. Now, a piece of it got chipped on the way back from our show. No one knows why. So at home, I took an index card, a play stick on the back, and tried to color match it as best. From a distance, you cannot tell, but once you get up, you could really tell that texture difference. I still really, really like this, and this is something, like, I hope you would, like, somebody would like and be like, oh, I can see that hanging up in my house. And I think it's really touching to me, because this is a place I know. This is my bus stop. Like, the signs and stuff are out of the picture, but this is something close to me, and I got to paint it, and I got to, like, try and capture that feeling of when I was little, and this was, like, going to the bus stop was, like, a fun thing. I really like it. Anyway, I've been rambling for forever, at least 20 minutes. Editing this is going to be fun, because I'm going to yell at myself for being out of frame so much. But this is what I did in art, too, during my sophomore year of high school. And I will resume with, hopefully, speed paints and maybe some other projects during the summer. I'm going to try to figure out how to get back on weekly uploading. Don't know how that's going to work. You're probably going to see this in the future, to see, like, it not work at all. Oh, there's a truck going by. So, we'll see about that, because yay plans and house and yay. But I hope you enjoy. I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you for, oh my god, this is 33 minutes.